When you hear that someone has lived to 116 years old, the first reaction is often disbelief. In a world where many people face serious health challenges by their 60s or 70s, it almost feels impossible to imagine someone not only surviving but thriving well into their second century. Yet that is the story of Maria Branyas Morera, a Spanish supercentenarian who, in 2025, is still alive and inspiring millions. Her life is not just a record of years, it is a record of how she has chosen to live them. What makes her story remarkable is that it challenges the usual narrative about aging. Many assume that decline is inevitable, that the body must weaken and independence must fade. Maria represents a different possibility. She has shown that with the right habits and mindset, it is possible to push the limits of what most people believe is achievable. Her life proves that longevity is not only about surviving longer, but about living with strength, presence, and meaning. This matters because longevity isn't determined by luck alone. Genetics and circumstance play a role, but science shows that daily lifestyle, the routines, habits, and mindset we carry, has enormous influence over how long and how well we live. Research in the world's blue zones, regions where people often live past 100, consistently reveals the same truth. It's not miracles or medicine, but ordinary daily habits that make the difference. Maria is proof of this truth in human form. Her life has spanned wars, pandemics, and cultural shifts. She is not a celebrity with access to advanced therapies. She is a woman who built her life on simple, consistent routines. Those quiet, steady choices have carried her further than most of us imagine possible. Think of it like building a house. Genetics may provide the land, but lifestyle determines the foundation, walls, and roof. With careful building and consistent maintenance, the house can last well beyond expectations. Maria's body and mind are that house, still standing strong after 116 years because of decades of care. Scientific studies confirm this pattern. Nutrition, movement, sleep, social connection, and stress management all influence not only how long we live but how well we age. People who eat balanced meals, move naturally every day, and maintain strong relationships live longer, healthier lives than those who neglect these areas. Maria practiced these principles before researchers even had names for them. To see how powerful this is, imagine two people in their 60s. One decides aging means slowing down, giving up activities, and accepting aches and pains as inevitable. They spend most days sitting, eating processed foods, and avoiding interaction. The other continues walking daily, eating simple fresh meals, and staying connected to friends and family. Fast forward a few decades, the difference is dramatic. One may be bedridden and dependent, while the other is still active and engaged. Maria's life reflects that second path, the path of mindful longevity. Her journey has not been free of challenges. She has faced illness, grief, and difficulty. What sets her apart is persistence. She adapts, recovers, and continues. Longevity is not about avoiding every setback. It is about resilience, the ability to keep moving forward no matter what comes. And this should give hope to everyone. You don't need perfection to age well. You don't need to live flawlessly to improve your health. What matters is consistency. Even in your 50s, 60s, or later, you can make changes today that improve your health span. Science shows that small adjustments, better meals, more movement, stronger connections, can create meaningful improvements in quality of life. Maria's story proves that it is never too late. Her example invites us to ask, what daily choices could we adjust? What habits could we build? The path to longevity is not a miracle pill or an expensive program. It is in the small, steady actions we repeat, the mindset we cultivate, and the way we choose to live. Maria Branyas Morera shows that these choices, practiced daily, can add not just years to life, but life to years. As we continue, we will look at the three cornerstones of her daily routine: how she eats, how she moves, and how she thinks. These are not secrets reserved for the privileged few. They are practices available to anyone, at any age. By learning from her example, we can begin to shape our own path toward a longer, stronger, and more meaningful life. When asked about the routines that have carried her to 116, Maria Branyas Morera often points to something very simple yet profoundly powerful: the way she eats. Food, for her, has never been about excess or restriction. It has been about nourishment, moderation, and balance. Raised in Spain, she grew up immersed in a Mediterranean tradition of eating, a style now celebrated worldwide for its connection to health and longevity. Her meals reflect the land she lived on: fresh fruits and vegetables, beans, and legumes, nuts, whole grains, olive oil, and fish when available. What makes her approach remarkable is its simplicity. There are no complicated diets or rigid restrictions in her daily life. She eats what is fresh, local, and natural. Meals are rarely rushed. She treats them as a time of connection, whether with family members when she was younger or with her own thoughts in later years. Science shows this slow, mindful style of eating improves digestion, prevents overeating, and reduces stress. It turns food from a quick chore into a ritual of care. One of the most important principles in her diet is moderation. Maria has never been known for eating until she was stuffed. Instead, her meals are modest in size but rich in nutrients. Researchers studying long-lived populations often describe the practice of eating until 80% full. This keeps the body light, reduces the strain on digestion, and prevents the accumulation of excess weight. Maria's meals reflect that wisdom. She eats to be satisfied, not to be overwhelmed. The foods she eats also matter. Her diet has always leaned heavily on plant-based meals. Vegetables, beans, nuts, and fruits form the foundation. Meat and rich desserts were occasional treats, not everyday staples. This balance protected her from many chronic conditions that plague modern societies, such as obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. Studies confirm that diets rich in plants and healthy fats, like olive oil, are associated with lower inflammation and longer lifespans. Maria also benefited from an era before processed food dominated supermarket shelves. For much of her life, packaged snacks, sugary sodas, and frozen ready meals were rare. Instead, she ate what was available in season: fresh oranges, leafy greens, olives, and legumes. These foods gave her body the vitamins, minerals, and fiber it needed without the hidden sugars, salts, and additives common in modern diets. Her experience shows us that longevity doesn't depend on exotic superfoods. It depends on whole, natural foods eaten with consistency. And here's where her eating habits extend beyond physical health. Balanced meals don't just strengthen the body, they stabilize mood and sharpen the mind. When blood sugar is steady, the brain works more clearly, and emotions remain calmer. Maria's ability to remain resilient and present over the decades is supported not only by what she thought but also by what she ate. To put this into perspective, imagine two older adults of the same age. One eats heavy fast food several times a week, snacks late at night, and fills their plate until it overflows. The other follows a pattern similar to Maria's: smaller meals of vegetables, fruit, grains, and light proteins, eaten slowly. 10 years later, the contrast is clear. The first is more likely to face diabetes, heart strain, and fatigue. The second is more likely to still be active, clear-headed, and independent. The difference is not dramatic at the table, but it is dramatic across decades. Perhaps the most encouraging lesson from Maria's diet is that it's never too late to make a change. Even in later life, shifting towards simpler meals can have quick benefits. Studies show that older adults who had more fresh vegetables and reduced processed foods often see improvements in energy, digestion, and sleep within months. Maria's eating style is not about restriction or quick fixes. It is about consistency, showing up day after day with nourishing meals that quietly build health across a lifetime. She does not think of her meals as medicine, but they have become just that. Each bite of fruit, each spoonful of beans, each drizzle of olive oil has acted like a small investment in her future. Over time, those investments have grown into decades of resilience. Food has been the first cornerstone of Maria's longevity. But eating well alone is not enough. The second cornerstone is just as important: how she moves. Even at her age, Maria has always built natural, gentle activity into her daily life. Not with gyms or marathons, but with simple movements that keep her body flexible, her circulation flowing, and her independence intact. If nutrition forms the foundation of Maria Branyas Morera's long life, then movement is the structure that has kept her body strong and capable. What is striking is that Maria has never treated exercise as a formal activity. She did not spend hours in a gym, nor did she rely on specialized equipment. Instead, she embraced natural movement woven into daily life. This simple but powerful approach has been central to her longevity. Researchers studying the world's longest-living populations often speak of the principle "move naturally." It means building activity into everyday tasks rather than isolating it into intense workouts. In Sardinia, people climb hills daily. In Okinawa, elders garden into their 90s. In Nicoya, Costa Rica, walking is still a part of life. Maria, living in Spain, shared the same rhythm. Her movement came from walking to shops, tending her home, standing while she worked, and simply refusing to become sedentary. This type of movement does not look impressive in the moment, but its effects are profound. Daily walking, light stretching, or household chores keep the heart healthy, improve circulation, and strengthen bones. These activities maintain balance and coordination, reducing the risk of falls, the leading cause of injury in old age. Maria has never run marathons, but her steady activity has given her something far more important: independence. Science strongly supports this approach. Studies show that light to moderate daily activity is more beneficial for longevity than occasional bursts of intense exercise. For older adults especially, what matters most is not how fast you run, but how often you move. Walking for 20 to 30 minutes a day reduces the risk of heart disease, lowers blood pressure, and boosts cognitive health. For Maria, this has not been a scheduled workout but simply her way of life for over a century. Imagine two seniors of the same age. One spends most of the day seated, perhaps exercising once in a while. The other, like Maria, builds activity into the day, walking short distances, stretching, standing while doing tasks. At first, the difference seems small. But after years, the first may struggle with stiffness, weakness, and declining mobility, while the second remains flexible, capable, and strong enough to care for themselves. That small difference, repeated daily, compounds into decades of resilience. Maria's relationship with movement also illustrates how physical and mental health are connected. Gentle activity releases endorphins that reduce stress and improve mood. Walking outdoors or doing light chores provides not just exercise but also a sense of accomplishment and purpose. This emotional lift helps keep depression and anxiety at bay, conditions that can shorten lifespan as much as physical illness. Movement has also served Maria as a bridge to social connection. In her earlier years, walking in her community allowed her to meet neighbors and interact with friends. Physical activity was not isolated but linked to relationships. This combination of exercise and social engagement has been shown to extend life expectancy more than either factor alone. Staying active and staying connected reinforced each other, keeping her both physically and emotionally strong. Another important aspect of Maria's approach is that her activity has always been gentle and sustainable. She has not forced herself into grueling routines. Instead, her movements are enjoyable, practical, and repeatable. That is why she has been able to keep them up for over 100 years. Many people begin intense exercise plans only to burn out or get injured. Maria's steady, natural rhythm proves that the best activity is the one you can maintain for life. This is perhaps the most hopeful lesson for those listening today. You do not need to transform your schedule or adopt extreme programs to improve your health. What you need is daily, consistent movement. If you can walk, walk. If you can stretch, stretch. If you can do light chores, treat them not as burdens but as gifts to your body. Every small action keeps the body flexible, the heart strong, and the mind uplifted. Maria's ability to keep moving has been one of the greatest protectors of her independence. At 116, she may not walk as far as she once did, but the lifelong habit of activity means her body is still capable of carrying her through each day. Movement has given her freedom, and freedom has given her joy. Eating well and moving daily form two of the pillars of her longevity. But there is a third cornerstone, often overlooked yet perhaps the most important of all: her mindset. Beyond diet and exercise, Maria's mental habits, her resilience, her gratitude, her adaptability, have carried her through wars, pandemics, and personal loss. If Maria's diet and daily movement form the physical foundation of her long life, then her mindset is the invisible force that has carried her through 116 years. At her age, Maria is not just alive, she is mentally present, curious, and reflective. That clarity and resilience are not accidents. They are the result of habits of thought developed across decades of challenge and change. Maria has lived through some of the most difficult events of the modern era: the Spanish Civil War, 2 world wars, economic depressions, the COVID-19 pandemic, and the loss of loved ones. Each of these could have left her bitter or broken. Yet instead of despair, she chose acceptance and hope. She often speaks of not dwelling on the past or fearing the future, but instead living as fully as possible in the present. Science supports her perspective. Chronic stress is one of the greatest accelerators of aging, while a calm, grateful mindset protects both body and mind. One of her most consistent mental habits has been gratitude. Maria has practiced thankfulness for small, everyday joys: the warmth of the sun, a good meal, the company of a family. Gratitude doesn't just feel good, it changes the body. Research shows that gratitude lowers blood pressure, reduces stress hormones, and improves emotional resilience. For Maria, this daily practice has been like an anchor, keeping her steady even as the world shifted around her. Another key aspect of her mindset is adaptability. While many people resist change as they grow older, Maria has learned to embrace it. Over her lifetime, she has seen technology revolutionize communication, medicine transform healthcare, and societies evolve in ways that would have seemed unimaginable a century ago. Rather than shutting down in resistance, she accepted these changes with grace. Adaptability has allowed her to avoid the mental rigidity that often shortens both health and happiness. Just as flexibility in the body prevents stiffness, flexibility in the mind prevents decline. She has also understood the importance of connection. Maria has always valued her relationships, with family, with neighbors, and with her community. Even in advanced age, she has remained socially engaged. Loneliness, by contrast, is a silent killer. Studies show it is as damaging to health as smoking or obesity. Maria's commitment to connection protected her from this danger, and gave her daily reasons to laugh, to listen, and to share. Perhaps the most inspiring element of Maria's mindset is her sense of purpose. Even at 116, she continues to find reasons to wake up each morning. Whether it is conversations with her family, reflecting on memories, or simply appreciating the beauty of another day, she has always carried a why. Research confirms that purpose is one of the strongest predictors of longevity. People who believe their lives still matter are more likely to live longer, healthier years. Maria is proof. To put this in perspective, imagine two older adults. One feels life no longer has meaning, spends most days alone, and sees little reason to look forward. The other wakes each morning with gratitude, stays open to change, reaches out to friends, and feels a strong sense of purpose. The difference between the two is not only emotional, it is physical. The second will almost always live longer and with greater independence. Maria's life illustrates this truth better than any study could. What does this mean for us? It means that longevity is not reserved for the rare few. The habits that have carried Maria to 116 are within reach for all of us. We may not all live as long as she has, but we can add years of health and vitality to our lives by following her example. Eat simple, balanced meals. Move naturally every day. And above all, cultivate a mindset of gratitude, adaptability, connection, and purpose. Maria's story is not only about reaching an age that seems impossible. It is about hope. It is about showing that independence, strength, and vitality can last far longer than society usually expects. She reminds us that it is never too late to change, never too late to grow, and never too late to live with purpose. As she herself once said, "Life is not eternal, but as long as it lasts, we must do everything to live it fully." Imagine being able to climb stairs without gripping the railing tightly, carry bags without hesitation, or recover quickly after an illness. These are the rewards of making protein a priority. Each protein-rich meal is a small step away from frailty and a step toward a future filled with vitality. If a woman born before airplanes were common can thrive in the age of smartphones, then surely we, too, can take steps today toward a healthier future. The path to longevity is not mysterious or out of reach. It lies in the choices we make each day, choices simple, steady, and sustainable. Maria Branyas Morera shows us that when those choices are repeated with persistence and resilience, they can carry us not only to old age, but to a life well lived. The message is clear. Seniors who avoid protein lose muscle fast, but those who embrace it can stop frailty in its tracks. The journey towards strength and independence doesn't begin with a complicated plan or expensive program. It begins with the simple decision to value protein as the foundation of every meal. Your body has carried you through decades of work, family, and life's challenges. It deserves the care that will keep it strong for the years ahead. By making protein your daily partner, you're not just feeding your body, you're fueling your future. You're choosing resilience, independence, and the freedom to live on your own terms.